All right, so welcome to this deep dive, you guys. We're going to be looking at this YouTube video, Conquer Emotional Trauma, Discover True Happiness.
Ooh, interesting title.
Yeah, right. It's from the channel Inner Balance Red Print. Now, I know a lot of you have been requesting a deep dive into emotional trauma and how to heal from it, and that's what we're going to do today.
All right, so are we diving into this specific video or kind of using it as a jumping off point to talk about trauma?
Well, we're going to use this video to kind of guide our conversation.
Yeah.
But we are going to, bring in our own perspectives.
Okay, got it.
And, we're going to talk about what we found interesting in the video and things like that. So
Sounds good.
yeah, so let's jump into it.
Yeah.
So what I thought was really fascinating is how the video really dives into the effect of emotional trauma
Okay.
on your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we think of trauma as like this really big, huge event,
Yeah.
but it can be like smaller things too,
Yeah.
like chronic trauma.
Oh, yeah.
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 Just these sort of like negative things that happen repeatedly over time.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is so relatable to so many people.
Right.
I think that's something that a lot of people maybe don't even realize that they're experiencing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can really, take a toll on your mental health
They care.
and your well-being.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Like, we all know the saying, death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, like little things that just chip away at you.
Yeah. And the video talks about the different types of trauma, like acute trauma, which is like that single event, like a car accident or something.
Okay.
And then chronic trauma, like we were just talking about.
Right, yeah.
It's like repeated suffering over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also complex trauma,
Yeah.
which is like multiple traumatic experiences that are often interpersonal.
Okay, so complex trauma,
Ugh.
like for example.
Well, I'm thinking like, childhood abuse or
Right.
neglect, or being in a relationship with someone who's abusive, like those kinds of things.
Right.
So it can have a really big impact on, how you view the world and how you interact with other people.
Makes sense. I mean, if your experiences have taught you that the world is a dangerous place, it's going to shape how you approach it.
Exactly. And it can even manifest physically. Like some of the symptoms of emotional trauma that the video talks about are like persistent sadness or anxiety,
Right.
denial, like
Right.
not wanting to admit that something happened,
Totally.
anger, mood swings,
Mm-hmm.
insomnia, fatigue, even being easily startled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought of that as being related to trauma, but it makes sense.
Right. Like your nervous system is kind of on high alert all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can affect you in so many ways. And so the first step, like the video talks about, is really acknowledging that you've experienced trauma.
Okay. So acceptance is key.
Yeah,
Like before you can even start to heal, you have
Yeah.
to kind of admit that there's something to heal from.
exactly. And that can be a really hard step for a lot of people.
Yeah, I imagine it would be, especially if you've been denying it or pushing it down for a long time.
Yeah. But it's like you can't really move forward until you do that.
Right. Like you can't set a broken bone if you don't acknowledge that it's broken.
Right, exactly. And then, one of the things that the video talks about as a really powerful tool for healing is mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay. So what is that?
So mindfulness is basically like being present in the moment
Okay.
and accepting your feelings without judgment.
So instead of getting caught up in your thoughts and emotions, you're kind of like observing them.
Exactly. Like you're not trying to push them away, you're just letting them be.
I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah. And it can be really hard at first, especially if you're used to kind of like overthinking things
Right.
or dwelling on the past.
So how do you actually do mindfulness?
Well, the video actually gives this really cool exercise
Huh.
where you just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just notice the sensations in your body.
Okay.
Like, what do you feel? Where do you feel tension?
Huh. That's interesting. So you're not focusing on your thoughts, you're focusing on your body.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it can help you kind of like ground yourself in the present moment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The video talks about how meditation can be a really great way to cultivate mindfulness.
Meditation. Okay. Now that's something I've tried before, but I always struggle to clear my mind.
Right.
Like my thoughts are always racing.
Yeah.
So any tips for that?
Well, what I found helpful is like not trying to force your mind to be blank
Okay.
because that's kind of impossible.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
My brain never stops.
So like instead of trying to stop your thoughts, you just kind of like acknowledge them
Okay.
and then let them go.
Huh. Okay. Like noticing them, but not getting caught up in them.
Exactly.
Okay, I can try that.
Yeah. And the video talks about how, meditation can really help to reduce anxiety and depression.
Which are often linked to trauma.
Exactly. So it's not just about feeling good. It's actually like rewiring your brain.
Right.
So now I want to talk about some of the other actionable strategies that the video suggests for healing from trauma.
All right, let's hear them.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is, like, it seems really basic, but deep breathing.
Deep breathing. Really? I mean, doesn't everyone breathe?
Right. Well, yeah, but it's about, like, conscious deep breathing.
Okay, so there's a difference.
Yeah.
Like,
So, like, when you're stressed or anxious, your breathing tends to become shallow and rapid.
yeah, that's true. I can feel my chest tightening just thinking about it.
Right. So when you consciously take slow, deep breaths,
Okay.
it actually triggers your body's relaxation response.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like, that thing that people say, like, take a deep breath and count to 10.
Right.
It's kind of like that.
I always thought that was just like a distraction technique.
It is, but it actually has, like, physiological effects.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it can help to calm you down and, like, reduce your stress levels.
I'm actually feeling a little more relaxed just talking about it.
See? It works.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Keep breathing for the win.
Another thing the video talks about is physical activity. And, like, obviously we all know that exercise is good for you.
Right.
But the video goes into a little bit more detail about the specific benefits of exercise for healing from trauma.
Okay, like what?
So, for example, high-intensity interval training, or
Yeah.
HIIT,
Oh, yeah.
can be really helpful for releasing pent-up energy and aggression.
Huh. Interesting. So it's like a healthy way to channel that fight or flight response.
Exactly. And then, other forms of exercise like yoga can help to promote relaxation and self-awareness.
Right. Like connecting with your body in a gentle way.
Yeah. So it's really about finding what works for you.
Makes sense. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. And then, another thing that the video talks about is the importance of routine.
Routine. Okay, I have to admit, that one surprised me. I'm kind of a spontaneous person by nature.
Yeah, me too.
So why would routine be helpful for healing from trauma?
Well, the video explains that, when you're dealing with the emotional fallout of trauma, having a predictable routine can actually reduce anxiety. Yeah.
So it's like creating a sense of stability and control
Exactly.
when everything else feels kind of chaotic.
Exactly. So, like, having a regular sleep schedule,
Okay.
eating meals at the same time each day,
Yeah.
those kinds of things can really help to create a sense of normalcy.
Okay. I'm starting to see the value in that.
And then, of course, there's the good old healthy diet.
Oh, of course. Eat your veggies, right.
Right. But the video actually goes into a little bit more detail about how food can specifically help to heal from trauma.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it explains that, nutrient-rich foods can actually improve neurotransmitter function.
Okay.
And neurotransmitters are those chemical messengers in your brain that play a huge role in regulating your mood.
So basically what I'm eating can directly impact how I feel.
Exactly. So, like, eating a balanced diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein can help to stabilize your mood and reduce those emotional roller coasters.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And then finally, sleep.
Ah, sleep, the holy grail. I
Yeah.
feel like I never get enough of it.
Yeah, me too. But the video really emphasizes the importance of sleep for processing emotions.
Okay. In what way?
So it talks about how during REM sleep, which is that deep dream-filled sleep,
Right.
your brain is actually processing emotional experiences.
So even when I'm sleeping, my brain is working overtime.
Exactly. And when you don't get enough sleep, it hinders that process.
Oh, no.
So it's like your brain can't properly file away those emotional experiences.
So they're just kind of like floating around in there.
Yeah.
Not good.
And it can lead to heightened anxiety, irritability, and difficulty coping with stress.
Wow. Okay. Sleep is officially non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's really important.
So we've covered mindfulness, deep breathing, exercise, routine, good food, and sleep. That's a lot.
It is. It's like building a solid foundation for healing, but we're not done yet.
In this part of our deep dive into healing from emotional trauma, we're going to shift gears a bit.
Okay, where are we headed?
Well, the video starts talking about the importance of support and connection.
Gotcha. So it's not just about those individual practices we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It's like you can have all the tools and techniques in the world, but sometimes you just need that human connection to truly heal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like having people who understand what you're going through, who can offer a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on.
Right. And the video specifically mentions support groups as being super valuable.
Okay, so like finding a group of people who've had similar experiences.
Exactly. It's like you're not alone in this. Other people get it.
I imagine that can be incredibly validating.
Oh, absolutely. And it can also be a great way to learn from others, to hear about their coping strategies and what's worked for them.
Kind of like a shared wisdom kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And in addition to support groups, the video also encourages people to explore ongoing counseling or therapy.
Okay, so it's not just a one and done thing.
Right. Sometimes you need that consistent guidance, that safe space to process your emotions, especially as you navigate the ups and downs of life.
Yeah, because life doesn't stop throwing curveballs just because you've started healing, right?
And unfortunately not. And
Okay.
sometimes those old wounds can resurface or new challenges can trigger those familiar feelings.
It's like having a therapist is kind of like having a personal trainer for your mental and emotional well-being.
I love that analogy. They can help you build resilience, develop coping mechanisms, and just navigate those rough patches.
And the video also mentions wellness programs. What exactly are those?
Well, it's a pretty broad term. It could be anything from yoga classes to meditation workshops, art therapy, even nutritional counseling.
So it's like finding those activities and practices that nourish your mind, body, and soul.
Exactly. And it's about finding what works for you, what brings you joy and helps you feel more connected to yourself.
It's not just about fixing what's broken, it's about thriving.
Absolutely. Healing isn't just about going back to how things were before the trauma. It's about growth and transformation. It's about using those experiences to become even stronger and more resilient.
That's so powerful. It's like you don't just mend the broken pieces, you create something new and beautiful from the fragments.
I love that. And the video acknowledges that this journey of healing isn't always easy. There will be challenges along the way, moments when you feel stuck or like you're taking 2 steps back for every 1 step forward.
So it's not a linear path. There are going to be bumps in the road.
Exactly. And that's where self-compassion becomes even more crucial. It's about being kind to yourself, recognizing that you're doing the best you can, even when it feels tough.
It's like offering yourself the same understanding and support you'd offer to a close friend who's struggling.
Precisely. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are people who care about you, who want to support you, and who understand what you're going through.
That's such an important reminder. So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, it brings up an important question for you, dear listener. What does support look like for you? Who are the people you can turn to when you're struggling? What resources feel most aligned with your needs and your journey?
Take some time to reflect on those questions. Perhaps there's a support group you've been wanting to check out, or maybe it's time to reach out to a therapist. Or maybe it's simply about leaning on those trusted friends and family members who offer unconditional love and understanding.
These are such powerful questions,
Yeah.
and I think it's something we can all benefit from exploring, whether we're actively healing from trauma or simply navigating the ups and downs of life. Okay, so we're back. As we kind of wrap up our deep dive into this whole emotional trauma healing thing, I'm amazed by like how much there is to unpack.
I know, right? I mean, just when you think you've got a handle on one aspect of it, there's this whole other layer to consider.
Totally. It's like this onion. You
Uh-huh.
peel back one layer, there's another one underneath.
Exactly. It's so
Yeah.
much more than just like a quick fix or like a Band-Aid solution.
Right. And this video really drove that home for me. Like it's this ongoing journey, this process of growth and transformation as much as it is about healing.
That's such a good point. Like, it's not just about going back to how things were before the trauma, right? It's about like coming out on the other side, like a stronger, more resilient version of yourself.
Yeah. It's like you don't just like mend the broken pieces. You actually create something new and even stronger from those fragments.
Yeah. It's like that Japanese art of kintsugi, where they repair broken pottery with gold.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. It's beautiful.
It is. And it's like those cracks and imperfections, they become part of the piece's beauty, a part of its story.
It's like a metaphor for healing, isn't it?
Totally. Like those scars we carry, they can become symbols of our strength, our resilience.
I love that. And the video does acknowledge, though, that this journey isn't always sunshine and roses,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Like there are going to be ups and downs.
Oh, for sure. There are going to be those moments where you feel stuck, where it feels like you're taking 2 steps back for every 1 step forward.
Yeah. It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times. You're going to get scraped up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But each time you get back up, you're a little bit stronger, a little bit more confident.
And eventually you find your balance,
Yeah.
and you just ride off with this like sense of freedom.
Yeah. And throughout that process, like self-compassion is so key. It's like being your own best friend, offering yourself that same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend who is struggling.
Oh, that's so important. It's easy to get caught up in that self-criticism,
Yeah.
like why am I not healing faster or why am I still struggling with this?
Yeah.
But that just adds another layer of suffering.
Yeah. And the video reminds us that healing is not a linear process. Like there's no set timeline. It's okay to have setbacks. It's okay to not be okay sometimes.
And I think it's also really important to remember that you're not alone in this. Like there are people who care about you, people who want to support you, and there's so many resources available.
Yes, absolutely. Like therapists, support groups, even helpful books and podcasts like this one, right?
Exactly. There's a whole community of people out there who have walked this path before us, and they're ready to share their wisdom and their support. And as we kind of come to the end of this deep dive, I think that's really the question I want to leave our listeners with.
Okay. What's that?
What does support look like for you? Who are your safe people? What resources resonate with you and feel aligned with your unique healing journey?
Those are great questions. Really something to sit with and reflect on.
Yeah. And maybe it's a support group you've been thinking about joining, or maybe it's time to reach out to a therapist, or just spend more time with those friends and family who make you feel loved and supported.
Whatever it is, I think it's important to just remember that healing is possible. It's a journey, and it might be messy and challenging at times, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
It's been really insightful.
We hope you found it helpful.
And until next time.
Take care.